meeting to order. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and the city in which we live. Guide us this evening as we make our decisions. In Christ's name, amen. Amen. This is the September 21st, 2020 regular meeting of the Newnan City Council. You have the minutes from the regular meeting of September the 8th, 2020 before you. I'll entertain a motion. We adopt those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. We adopt the minutes as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Before we go any further, I'd like to invite I'd like to say that all of the council members are back this evening for the first time since March, mid-March, somewhere in there. Want to thank staff for their hard work and getting us ready to be able to do this with the petitions and the other things that they provided to us, and we appreciate that very much. So it's great to have everybody back in the room rather than on Zoom meeting. So we'll move forward. Annual report on Keep Newnan Beautiful. That's information only, won't be presented this evening. It is in your packet. And then the next item are several appointments to boards and commissions. The next is a replacement appointment to the Urban Redevelopment Agency, and I need you to put that on the next agenda. Following that, an appointment to the Newnan Youth Activities Commission, item D. Mr. Kretko?
Next agenda, please.
All right, thank you. And then item E, Ms. Jenkins, Convention Center Authority.
I'll need that on the next agenda.
All right, thank you. And the item F is the Board of Zoning Appeals, is Ms. Jenkins.
I'd like to reappoint Mr. Willie Walton.
Second.
Motion and a second. We reappoint Mr. Willie Walton to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. The next are several appointments to the Farmer Street Cemetery Commission. The first one, I'll need you to put that on the next agenda if you don't mind. Mr. Shell?
Yes, I want to nominate Allison O'Rourke.
Second.
A motion and a second that we nominate Allison O'Rourke for Farmer Street Cemetery Commission. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. The next, Mr. Kretko.
Next agenda, please.
All right, thank you. And Mr. DeBose.
Next agenda, I've asked somebody, but I'm waiting on a reply.
All right, thank you. And then the next item, there are 10 appointments to the Ethics Commission. I'll just go down the list here. Mr. Alexander, you have 2.
Yes, I'd like to renominate Ryan Freeman.
Second.
Motion to second, we renominate Ryan Freeman. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for the aye. The next is also Mr. Alexander.
Next council meeting, please.
All right, thank you. The next 2 are mine. I would like to renominate Carrie Knight.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And I would also like to renominate Bob McCoon.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. The next 2 are Mr. DeBose.
Yes, first one, nominate Bud Freeberg.
Second.
Motion is second. We nominate Bud Freeberg. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And Mr. DeBose.
Winston Skinner.
Second.
Motion and a second, we renominate Winston Skinner. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Bose. The next, Mr. Jones, you have the next 2
Next meeting, please.
on both?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then Ms. Jenkins, the next 2.
Next meeting.
All right, on both. All right, thank you. Okay, that takes us on to the operations of city manager. Mr. Craver is here this evening for the absent Mr. Phillips. This is a solicit the council's feedback on the potential reduction of distilled spirits license from 5,000, which it has been since the beginning of the process when we went forward with the distilled spirits in restaurants. This is a pouring license to 2,500.
That's correct, yes.
The reason for this soliciting feedback, is because I received a couple of calls from restaurant owners, in particular downtown, wanting to know if there was anything that we could do to delay the payment or maybe come up with a payment plan, something that doesn't take a struggling restaurant a $5,000 hit at the end of the year or first of the year to renew their license. Spoke to Mr. Phillips about that, and came back a couple of days later and said, look, I'd rather just reduce it to 2,500. And so that's what's before you tonight. Mr. Phillips' thought on that was a permanent reduction moving forward instead of the $5,000.
I don't mind that, especially in these times.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So the budget impact is about $70,000.
That's correct.
And this would be a permanent
Yes.
reduction,
Yes,
not
sir.
just for the duration.
Yeah, of course, this corporate body could
And it
consider it
would-
again at a time in the future, but yes.
As soon as we pass it,
As,
it goes in.
as one
right?
council to the next.
Yeah,
Right,
correct.
right.
Do we know
Mr. Reed.
surrounding municipalities, aren't they 5,000 if I recall?
To Mr. Sears' point, their jurisdictions are allowed, under state law allowed, up to 5,000 for this license. And frankly, Councilman, or Mayor Pro Tem Alexander, they're across the board.
Right.
There's a number of our neighboring jurisdictions are 5,000. Those that you would recall, those are about the same size as the city of Newnan.
Mr. Mayor, do we need a new ordinance for this, or?
Mr.
Yes,
Sears will prepare a new ordinance, but Mr. Phillips needs instructions here or feedback here in order to do budgeting, which he is.
Well, I would move that we reduce this fee to $2,500 annual.
Second?
Okay, a motion and a second. Everybody understand what we're doing here?
And I guess that is for January 1, 2021.
Yes,
That's
going
correct.
forward.
That's not to refund any money already paid.
That is
Correct.
my
Because
intent.
they already paid
That's right.
5,000
Right.
For the year.
for the distilled spirits for 2020. So this is what we're talking about going forward.
Okay.
Right. Well, we can adopt the ordinance if you present it to us in November, December, effective
Well,
January
We
1.
want to go ahead and do it now.
Right.
Because the renewals have already gone out. All right, and so we just needed, finance to have some direction because it's going to be reduced before, particularly for the corporate folks who generally send them in pretty early.
Sure. Okay. So I have a motion and a second to reduce this from 5,000, the fee from 5,000 to 2,500. Any other discussion?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
That 70,000, where would that come in the budget? Where are we going to make that up from?
Generally speaking, it's a general fund revenue, so it would be a general fund expense. The general funds, currently in this budget year, we're $27.5 million we're looking at. So
Through the surpluses we've been running from year to year.
I can appreciate the reduction in fees, anything that we can reduce the fees on is a good thing, generally speaking. And I know, some of the business owners are struggling, but equally struggling are some of the, individuals, the residents of the city. The other thing is to consider in the budget, is crafting this, is that we're already supplementing the downtown garbage service at a tremendous cost to the city, as well as the, what else are we doing? Anyways, other things. So I just want to make sure that we do our due diligence, we look at the budget, because we are, and I know we do have a surplus in the general fund, but this is something, to look at seriously.
so
Sure. And I'll remind the council, we did vote to take the rollback this year. So, okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? Anyone? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried 6-1. Thank you. The next item on the agenda this evening is, I don't have anything this evening. And next item under new business, consider authorizing the development of a 2021 community home investment program commonly called CHIP grant application. As all of you know, the CDBG block grant was denied, and the suggestion came back to us that we should apply from our grant administrator for the CHIP application. So that is on your agenda this evening. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. We authorize the development of a 2021 community home investment CHIP grant application. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. The next item is a request to close the North and South Court Square on Market Day, October the 3rd and November the 7th, and December the 5th this year for Market Day. Is there a motion?
So
I'll make that
moved.
motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. We grant the request as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. The next is a public hearing. This is a request by owner to demolish a structure that was built prior to 1940. The tax record is in your agenda. The address is 54 Roscoe Road. Is there any comment from staff regarding this issue?
Good evening,
How are
Mr.
you,
Mayor,
sir?
Council. I'm filling in for Bill Stevens tonight. He was unable to attend, but he did ask me to come and possibly answer any questions. I have his file from the case, and we'll try to answer any questions anyone might have.
Is there any reason you know why we should not do this?
No, sir.
All right. Any questions, staff? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Motion and a second. We grant the request to demolish from the owner to demolish the structure located at 54 Roscoe Road. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a request for a memorandum of agreement and MOA between the Coweta County and the City of Newnan regarding local watershed planning and management. This is an extension of agreement that's been in place since, I believe, 2013, and it's required by the state. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. The next item under unfinished business tonight is a public hearing, a continuation of a public hearing for rezoning request RZ 2020-02 Inline Communities LLC for 22.007 acres located on McBride Street, tax parcel N5801001002, 90 Sprayberry Road, tax parcel N36015, a portion of 92 Sprayberry Road, tax parcel N36014, and tax parcel N5800611, and the consideration of an ordinance. As you all will recall, and as I said just a moment ago, this is a continuation of this public hearing. Mr. Cole, how are you this evening?
I'm doing well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members.
Thank you.
I would like to give a brief overview of certain case-related activities since the council meeting on the 25th of August. Planning staff and the city manager met with the applicant and the applicant's counsel on September 14th to discuss topics that were raised at the August 25th meeting. During this conversation, the applicant reaffirmed that the project would be a townhouse-style condominium concept. The applicant also indicated that information will be provided at today's meeting regarding other issues that were discussed at the 25th council meeting, including traffic issues, school bus routes, and commitments from builders. Also, please note that a revised ordinance has been prepared since the council meeting on the 25th, and we added the phrase on condition number 3, final approval as an administrative appeal by the planning director. Should the council elect to recommend approval of the request, staff would recommend the conditions that are found in the attached ordinance in your packets on page 129. These include staff recommended conditions and proffered conditions with the inclusion of the one change to condition number 3. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. Who tonight is going to make the presentation? If you'll identify yourself for the record, please.
Yes, sir. Melissa Griffiths with Horn and Griffiths, 32 South Court Square, Newnan, Georgia, 30263. I'm just going to go over, Mayor and council members, new information instead of repeating anything, since this is a continuation, as I understand. We do have tonight Mr. Cody Owenby with A&R Engineering instead of Mr. Abdul Amir, who was here last time. Unfortunately, he had a family medical emergency, was unable to attend tonight. But we do have the traffic study that we received after our meeting and sent that. First, I want to pass around, we want to add to our proffered condition, it is referenced as Exhibit D. We've met with Ms. Shannon Arnold and have a written agreement with her, and she wanted to modify the Exhibit D. I've already talked to staff about this, but I just want, since it is referenced as Exhibit D, on the drawing you're seeing, Miss Arnold did not want any landscape plantings on her side of the fence. She requested a gated entrance instead. So we have amended the original exhibit that was attached to our plan and proffered conditions. So this Exhibit D actually has additional gate with an automatic opening for her that was not on the previous one. And we struck through the plantings that were on her side of the fence. She did not want to have to allow access to anyone to come in and keep those up, nor did she want to have to maintain them on her side of the fence. So that is the only edit to this exhibit previously, and this was based on her comments and meeting with her. So this was her request for this Exhibit D. So I did want to point out that one modification that we're requesting to the proffered condition, but it is additional offerings for her. The other thing is we just received a letter from a Mr. Willie Cameron. I'm sorry, I just received this right at 5 o'clock, but I did send it to Mr. Cole. He lives at 57 North Street. It's dated today. He is in support, but is unable to attend. He did not want to attend due to COVID, so he asked that I read this out. My name is Willie Cameron. I'm the owner of 57 North Street. This development to be built will be directly behind my home, and I ask that the council vote in favor of it. It would be good to see fresh new homes go in for several reasons. We need nice new homes in this area for young families starting out, and it would help the value of the homes already built here and hopefully inspire some improvements. Finally, on a personal note, I'm tired of fighting all the kudzu and growth that overtakes that whole hillside here, and I would sure like to see that snaky stuff replaced with something nice. So please vote in favor of this tonight. I said that I would read his writing directly into the record. So what I'd like to do, I think that answers all the pending. The only other item I wanted to point out is we did have email correspondence from Dr. Fate Simmons, the transportation director with the Coweta County School System, that I was able to speak to. Based on citizen concern at the last meeting, they brought up some potential school bus issues. He sent his team out and reviewed everything, talked to me, and then sent an email back saying that they have no concerns as it exists today with the school bus routes in that area, nor with this development. So we did send on that email correspondence as well. I believe, Mr. Mayor and Council, those were the main pending issues. I'm going to let Mr. Musoff go through, and then we've got the two different engineers here for any specific traffic questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Councilman and Councilwoman. Thank you for having us here again this evening. So I'm going to make this real brief and be here to answer any questions y'all have. As Melissa just mentioned, we've met with staff, and we are fine with going forward with the definition of the townhome style condominium. We understand the repercussions of that, and we're willing to move forward under that. Real quickly, the only thing Melissa I don't think mentioned on here is we added the sliding gate for Miss Arnold. We also going to pave her driveway in the back behind her home. Currently, it's just gravel and some broken concrete, and so we're going to, as a part of our construction, we will be paving her driveway as well. If you have any questions about this, I'm happy to answer it. One thing we didn't mention last time and should have, and we didn't get to it in the presentation, was just the fact that the link path is coming this close to the site. It wasn't something I realized when we first put this project under contract. I think it's a big deal. I think it's really important from a transportation standpoint, long-term, for pedestrians and people who live here. And I just think it's an important thing to put rooftops also near trailheads for your link, the link path. So I think it's a pretty neat opportunity. I just wanted to make sure we mentioned that. We did get the traffic report. Hopefully that was distributed. I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail. I will point out that there is this is a pretty small impact on the overall traffic based on how many cars are actively on these roads today. And actually the counts were from 19, and they're obviously a lot less than they were then, but they will get back up there. But the one issue that we did discuss last time was the intersection at Jefferson and Sprayberry. And particularly when you look at the traffic study, people who are coming up Sprayberry and then turning left onto Jefferson Street, that is an issue, and that there is a lower level of surface there. Thankfully for our project and for the area traffic, there is no reason anyone would ever exit onto Sprayberry to come and turn left onto Jefferson to go past our other entrance. You know, if you were in the neighborhood, you would just come out to our Jefferson entrance and turn left if that's the direction you were going to go. So, you know, you can look at the traffic report, but there's really no reason we'll ever be, you know, bringing cars into the intersection going that way to turn left onto Jefferson, and that's really the only movement that, you know, has any kind of impact. Everything else is a really high level of service. As Melissa mentioned, we do have Mr. Owenby here who can answer any specific engineering questions on the traffic. We covered this already, but this was just the access we're giving those other homes that back up to us. We talked about the amenities last time. Architecture, we kind of breezed over it. I just want to confirm that we met with, you know, every builder that I'm currently working with has approved this architecture, specifically also the characteristics of what we're talking about, which is brick, siding, cementous siding, shake material, stone as well, as accent points. And, you know, these right here are all either cement style with brick on the bottom or stone on the bottom, no vinyl siding, and I just wanted to confirm that for everyone. Some more pictures of the interior that we discussed, which will have hard, you know, nice countertops, nice interiors, and we think it's going to be great for the area. So, you know, that's really all I wanted to say is I think we think this is a great opportunity to really, you know, reinvigorate that lake area, do something that's going to be neat for the city, and we're really excited about trying to move forward. That's all I have. I'm here for your questions.
Any questions?
I have a quick question. This may be between Ms. Donovan and yourself. And just looking at the drawing here with the gate and stuff, looks like being a good neighbor, and I appreciate that. Trying to help out, and she has, you know, says it's good. And I imagine the fence and the shrubbery and stuff like that is just for illustration purposes. Is there going to be any problem with the setback and visibility getting out of her driveway onto American there?
No, I mean, if she was turning left, I could see how that might be a consideration, but turning right, you know, to go out to American, I don't think there's going to be any issue, but we will make sure that there's a clean line of sight when we do the landscaping.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone? Okay, thank you very much. This is a continuation of this, and that has been the applicant stating their cases, and of course they are in favor of the rezoning. Is there anyone here that would like to come forward who is opposed to the rezoning? This is your opportunity to come forward in opposition of the rezoning, even though some of you I recognize who were here last time, who spoke in opposition. Okay, the only way I can take that is that you're no longer opposed to the rezoning. Okay. Anyone want to come forward to speak to in opposition to this opportunity? All right, seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time and ask for a motion from the council.
Make a motion.
What?
I'm sorry.
On the report and recommendation from the Planning Commission.
Make a motion to approve the Planning Commission's report that they sent to City
Second.
Council.
All right, motion is second. We accept the report and recommendation from the Planning Commission. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
The Planning Commission recommended denial, Mr. Alexander. They did not
It's
recommend to
still their
approve.
report.
But we're accepting.
Accepting
the
their
report.
report, excuse me. Thank you.
We can't change the report.
Right. No, it's just,
We could have denied acceptance, but we can't change the report. Thank you. Okay, so we have that vote behind us. Okay, so the next would be a motion on the rezoning request itself.
make a motion to approve the rezoning request
Second.
with all the conditions. Thank you,
Second.
council.
Motion and a second to approve the rezoning request with all the conditions provided. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda then is to a motion on the ordinance itself, to adopt the ordinance.
Make a motion to adopt the ordinance as
Second.
presented.
Motion and second to adopt the ordinance as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. The next item on the agenda this evening under visitors is a request from the Newnan Rotary Club to erect crosses with names of all citizens of Coweta County veterans who were killed in combat from World War I to today, to be displayed on Memorial Day weekend. Mr. Pope is the author of this letter. I'm gonna ask if you have any questions of Mr. Pope. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion on the issue.
Just a quick question. As I'm understanding, these crosses are going to be erected at various locations, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
it's all on public property.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the letter's before you.
That's correct.
Yeah.
If I may speak, Mr. Pogue, the staff's supportive of it, however, we're supportive of those locations that are under the purview of this council.
Right.
We don't control the Justice Center nor the property around the courthouse, the grassy areas, but all those that are City of Newnan property staff support.
Yes, right.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion to second. Any discussion? Before we vote, I want to say I appreciate so much what you're doing. It's a great project. Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure making the presentation to you.
Yeah, this is a tough deal here.
Well, I would like to say, this is one of these projects that everybody wants to have, because when I brief somebody on it, the first thing they say is, what can I do to help?
Right,
And you don't get that all the time.
right.
We've had the materials donated, the construction is being done by Headley Construction Company, the downtown sign shop is doing the lettering at their cost, so this is something that has a tremendous amount of community
Great
support.
project. Thank you. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carried. Thank you. I appreciate it very much, and the work of the Rotary Club throughout our community. The next item is a request from Avery Park Neighborhood to place signs at the entrance of Highway 29 for a garage sale on October the 3rd. The signs to be posted the day prior. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. We grant the request as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. That ends our regular agenda for the evening. I do need a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Alexander to take us into an executive session for legal and real estate.
I move that we now enter into closed session as allowed by OCGA 50-14-4 and pursuant to advice by the city attorney for the purpose of discussing real estate and legal, and that we in open session adopt a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor or presiding officer to execute an affidavit in compliance with OCGA 50-14-4, and that this body ratify the actions of the council taken in closed session and confirm that the subject matters of the closed session were within expectations permitted by the open meetings law.
Second.
Motion is second. We go into executive session for real estate and for legal. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and